Thank you for having me here at the SME conference to talk a little bit about the Quecreek Mine rescue and the policies that we adopted in dealing with the families of the miners and also with the media. But before I go much further, I want everybody in the audience who was involved in the Quecreek Mine rescue, please stand. And I saw Joe Spifoni and Bill Brookshire here, and there's probably some others. Would you give a nice round of applause? You know, if there's one take-home message that I have for you today, it's this. The families and the media are both very important elements of the rescue. They are part of the whole rescue. You can't just be technically competent and worry about things like air packs and other equipment in a rescue. You have to look at the whole picture. So if there's one message, it's this. Look at the entire rescue. One of the hardest things that I had to do as Secretary of DEP was to face the families and to not only give them good information, but also confidence that we were doing everything that we possibly could to rescue their loved ones. I think, as everybody realizes, the Quecreek Mine rescue took place in Somerset County. It involved the fact that miners broke into an abandoned Saxman mine that was filled with mine water, and ultimately 60 million gallons of mine water from that mine flooded the Quecreek Mine. Somerset is about 90 minutes or so east of Pittsburgh. One of the other things that may not be apparent is that the crash of Flight 93, which you can see the crash site in these pictures and the instant city that grew up around the crash site of emergency responders, actually helped us in our Quecreek response because we understood the kind of capabilities that were in the county. We understood and got some experience in dealing with a large batch of media, at least I did. But we had some very skilled and experienced people there. Betsy Mallinson from our Pittsburgh regional office handled media for years out there and was involved in a lot of different emergency responses, including another plane crash in Beaver County a couple years before that. As I mentioned, the emergency that called us there was the flooding of the Quecreek Mine. When we went out there, we really didn't have an idea of what we were facing or how long we were going to be there, obviously. I left in the morning, about in the wee hours of Thursday morning. The accident actually happened on Wednesday evening, about 10 of 9. I left Harrisburg with our press secretary, Dennis Buderbaugh, who's again a very experienced individual with the media and also one of our interns. And on the way out, we got calls from the Today Show producers, MSNBC, and others. Betsy Mallinson was dispatched right away from Pittsburgh in the wee hours of the morning. An AP story had already run about the emergency, so we were already getting press calls, and interest, as you can imagine, was very high in the whole accident. This was a complicated issue to handle for us in a number of ways, not only technically, obviously, but we had 4 different locations that were involved. The first location was the mine portal itself, and here you can see some of the miners from other mines who helped us constantly throughout the whole rescue operation, doing what they could to move pumps and pipes and help out wherever they could. But the mine portal was one location. The actual rescue site where we drilled the rescue shaft was obviously the another location that we had. We had a media center that was in an abandoned empty Giant Eagle supermarket. We set up the press conference in the produce aisle, and if you look very closely, you can see this is an old bread rack, and the governor is standing on an old pallet. But it gave us the room that we needed to allow reporters to work, to drop in phone lines, to provide internet access, and kept us out of the weather. This map gives you a general idea of the fact that all 4 locations were generally strung a couple miles apart in the same general area. But it was something that gave us a few problems because we had to control access to the site. And of course, one way to do that was to call on our friends, the state police, who did a terrific job controlling access to not only the rescue site, but a number of other places, including the 4th location, which was the location where the families and their relatives were housed during the rescue operations, and that was the Sykesville Fire Hall. There's a reason we don't have any pictures of the Sykesville Fire Hall here or inside, and that's because we honored the request of the families not to have reporters go into the fire hall. There was one case where one did, and that reporter was promptly booted out unceremoniously by the state police. As you can imagine, there was a lot of heavy equipment around the rescue site. In particular, we had big pumps and pipes and other equipment working at the portal. We also had drill rigs at different points drilling holes down in to relieve the water pressure from the water that was going into the mine. So it was a very dangerous area to be. But one of the things that we did early on at the request of the families was to bring representatives of the families to the rescue site and allow them the opportunity on a rotating basis to view the rescue operations and to see firsthand what was going on. When Governor Schweiker arrived that evening on the Thursday, the first day of the operation, he went directly to the Sykesville Fire Hall, and he went into the fire hall, didn't make a speech. He just went in, started going around the fire hall, talking to people, asking them what they needed, how they were holding up, and if we were doing what we needed to do to provide them information. And out of that initial contact came the fact that the families were were given hourly briefings, all 24 hours a day, and we had specific staff assigned to do those briefings for the families in the fire hall. We also adopted a policy that the governor and we all enforced rigorously. That was that the families of the miners were to be given information first before any media was to be given information. And as you can imagine, there were clergy on site, but we also coordinated with Somerset County to provide any social services that were needed by the families during these very emotional and heart-wrenching times. Many of these families' first policies were included in legislation that was introduced just this year by Representative Bob Bastian, who's a Somerset County representative. It really makes dealing with the mine families and dealing with their needs and for information, other services, part of the mine rescue operation, not simply an adjunct to it or something afterthought. This makes it a clear part of the mine rescue operation. Happy to say this bill passed the House. I don't think there's going to be time for the Senate to consider it, but it will certainly be back next year. As you can see by this photo, this was the second press conference we had, I believe, and this was some indication of the press that was on site. And it was clear from that early press conference that we needed to get facilities for the press to use and to deal with, and to make sure that we were able to balance, and this is what it really is, a balance between the need for the public to know through the news media what was going on, the need for the families to get firsthand information on what was happening to their loved ones, and also to make sure that the news media did not interfere with ongoing operations, because after all, there's a lot of heavy equipment and moving of people and material around to deal with the emergency. This is one of the more interesting photos, I thought. We actually had more satellite trucks for TV stations here at Quecreek than we did for the Flight 93 crash site. Obviously, there was a lot of interest in what was going on. News helicopters were landing across the street from from this location. There was a tremendous amount of activity 24 hours a day. At the press conferences, we generally held, because of the 24-hour news cycles, 4 briefings a day, one in the morning, one before noon, one in the early evening before supper, and then one late in the day, to keep the news media informed of what was going on. The governor being there obviously provided a powerful symbol of the state and the Commonwealth leading the rescue and doing everything we possibly could to make sure that there was a successful outcome. Joseph Buffoni on the right there was there to provide technical backup on the details of the rescue, and I, of course, as the agency head, was there to describe what the department as a whole was doing, because it was not just the mine rescue people. It was also water quality staff. It was other emergency responders that were involved in the rescue operation from our agency, the county, and local fire companies. We also did something new. We opened up a specific web page that was devoted to ongoing updates of the accident. After each press conference, we posted a summary of the press conference and the new information, and our staff from Harrisburg was doing that. Of course, the press conference themselves were often broadcast live across the TV networks and the Pittsburgh TV stations. But we quickly found out that we were dealing with a lot of reporters who had no idea that coal was even mined in this fashion anymore. And we put up a lot of basic information about the compliance history of this mine, a map of the mine, its location, a map or a diagram that you saw a little bit earlier in the presentation about how the flood and had occurred and the relationship between the two mines. This helped answer a lot of questions, because we could go back and tell the reporters, especially new ones as they came in and changed off, the background on the accident and the response just by going to our webpage. One of the things that we did during the briefings was, again, through our staff in Harrisburg, monitored all the cable stations and news stations to see what was going on and what stories were out there, and if there were problems developing or inaccuracies developing, we could circle back with the reporters or the stations or the networks to correct those problems. We also had a number of interns, 8 interns working as people who dealt with producers from, say, Connie Chung and CNN or MSNBC or Fox or any of the other stations to line up interviews to keep information flowing and generally help out where they could. And they were very important to this operation, and what an experience that they got during this whole episode. As time went on, obviously, we had to deal with not only updating the press about these things, but also a number of other issues. Cell phones on the site. News media tried to contact people on the site. People on the site had cell phones, and we had to make sure that we were getting out information that answered all the questions that were coming out. We also enlisted a former deputy for Mineral Resources, Bob Dolance, to answer questions about mining activities, to relieve a little bit of pressure from us in answering questions about the rescue operations. We also got lots of emails and calls back in Harrisburg that we had to deal with. One of the things we also did was to try to bring forward a number of different elements of the rescue. What MSHA was doing here, what the SMART medical team was doing to prepare for bringing, when the miners came out, what medical treatment they were going to do, to try to make sure that we gave the news media new stories, so that they frankly wouldn't go out and make up stories on their own and try to get on the site on their own. Again, that balance of the need for the media to know with the privacy of the families of the miners, and also hoping to prevent interference in the equipment and other things that were going along with the rescue. And we did have a lot to cover. There was a lot going on. Getting equipment in, like the rescue capsule, practicing what would happen after the miners came out, assembling all sorts of equipment, including the U.S. Navy submarine rescue containment capsules that were going to be used in case they came out and needed to be treated. There was a lot going on. And all around this was security to make sure that we didn't have anybody accidentally going into the area. One news team did tangle with some Navy SEALs. That was an episode where the Navy SEALs really got the better of the TV crew and kicked them off. One reporter, Geraldo Rivera, that you may know, was also kicked off by Lori Arnold, who wouldn't have anyone setting up on her farm without permission from the folks who were involved in the rescue. A lot of the coverage was provided by pool coverage, pool reporters, video still photographers, and reporters that we took up to the rescue site and the other sites in groups. Pool coverage really simply means that whatever video and information or pictures were gathered by that pool of reporters being taken from site to site, they would have to share that with the rest of the news media that was back at the media center. Again, there was a constant getting information out to the public from the pool reporters when we did not have any formal press briefings, giving them fresh pictures, fresh video of what was going on. Again, the idea was to give transparency and to answer questions without reporters overrunning the site. Another resource that we had that maybe others didn't have was Commonwealth Media Services. Commonwealth Media Services provides video and photo support for the governor's office and state agencies, and we actually had teams of photographers and videographers here that were covering the site 24 hours a day to get to places where pool reporters could not go. And we released their photos, we released their video again to the news media, again in places where the news media themselves could not go, to provide fresh pictures and images for the news media. Because one thing that has a tendency to happen over this long a time is if new information or new visuals isn't provided to the media, then they may have an opportunity to make up stories on their own. And making up stories on their own is something that would not only get the miner families upset, but would also put out inaccurate information about what was happening during the rescue operation. So we were very grateful for the big help that Commonwealth Media provided to us, and they professionally were very proud because their images, video and still images, were going all over the world, and that was something that they were proud to contribute to the rescue. Obviously, we had a happy ending to this rescue operation. But one of the things we tried very hard to do was to be very transparent to the mine families in providing them information and to the public. So in the event that we did not have such a happy outcome, everybody knew at least, and everything was on the record about what was done to rescue the miners. This particular moment in the rescue was very difficult because from a media standpoint, because as soon as the people at the rescue site got word from the folks underground, the miners underground, that they had broken through and that they were all alive, the governor immediately went over to the fire hall, gave the families the good news. But in the meantime, folks on the site were using their cell phones to call media and to call everyone. And we were confronted in the media center with the question, we heard 9 folks are alive, they're all alive. Can you confirm that? And we could not confirm that because of the family first policy that was in place. And we think that was the right decision, although frustrating at that time for us and for the media, those of us in the rescue in the media center, rescue media center. It was the right decision to do. Obviously, after during the tense moments as each miner came up, there was a lot of information that was needed to be shared with the public, and we did that. The mine families generally met their loved ones at the local hospitals where they were taken for treatment and observation. All in all, it went very smoothly at that point. We couldn't have asked for better cooperation from the media and from the families, so that we could get the miners the medical attention they needed, and at the same time access to their loved ones. One of the interesting things that happened here is that we had at times over 200 people involved in the rescue operations, and from a safety standpoint, we didn't hardly give out a band-aid during that entire operation, in spite of the fact that there was lots of heavy equipment moving in and around that site the entire time. Dealing with the media, of course, did not stop at the rescue. The Governor Schweiker, appointed a commission to investigate the mine inundation problems and the threats posed by this problem to other mines. What you're looking at here in the upper picture is the actual breakthrough into the Sykesville mine, where those 60 million gallons of water rushed through. The lower left is where the rescue shaft came down into the mine. And the picture on the right is something that gives you an idea of what the mine workers and where they were trapped and how high the ceiling was at the time. We also provided more information about the rescue at the farm show, where 250,000 people attend every year. It was held in January, and answered questions about the mine rescue operations. There was still a lot of public interest in the rescue. Of course, afterwards, there was a lot of attention by President Bush and others on the rescue operations. But one thing that we did, and Richard Stickler, the head of the Bureau, Joe Spafoni, and others did, was not only go to these happy occasions, but they also delivered presentations on the rescue and the decisions that were made and how we handled the mine, the media, and the mine families, and information flowing back and forth to let people know what worked and what didn't work in this operation. And they went back and dealt with our sister states and in the aftermath of this rescue to share that information with others. This was entirely a team effort. We had lots of experienced people, not only in terms of deep mine safety rescue, but also handling the media, handling water quality aspects, handling every single aspect of this effort. That was one of the keys. Planning and training were also two other keys to this. Having regular exercises of emergency operations and how you train for this kind of event is very, very critical. And we felt that transparency of operations was critical in dealing with the media. And if we did make a mistake in what we told the media, and we did make mistakes during Quecreek, we went back and corrected them right away, instead of letting that information fester and the wrong information out there. But another key to this was the fact that we recognized the needs of the mine families with the Families First policy. We recognized the need of the media to be informed and have the public informed about what we're doing. And if you do those things correctly, then regardless of the outcome, you will have, I think, done your job. But you need to understand that this is not just about pumps or rescue apparatus. You have to look at this whole rescue as an operation that needs to be attended to. And the mine families are a critical part, and also the media is a critical part. But we never really forgot who was really in charge of this operation, and I think this rescue was a life-changing experience for everyone who was involved. And from the standpoint of people involved in deep mine safety rescue, this doesn't happen very often, as unfortunately recent events have proven. This was, we believe, truly a miracle. And those of us who were involved, the people that stood up earlier, are really very grateful for all the prayers and for all the assistance that everyone gave us in this operation. But we never forgot who was really in charge.